I heard you guys say in the past that AI will come and replace a lot of the low-level stuff. But you absolutely cannot replace good agents at the kind of, mid and upper levels. The negotiation, the management, the managing of expectations, and there's so many things. And I think a lot of people underestimate.
Now you've mentioned that, I've been sort of, it's been going around in my mind a lot. I suppose it does for a lot of people, doesn't it? When you hear about AI and the scare stories and stuff. But I still think that in the buying and selling of a house, there are two humans, aren't there? The seller and the buyer.
Maybe.
Three.
Yeah,
of course.
You guys. Yeah.
Of course, but there's definitely two, isn't there? A seller and a buyer.
Definitely two.
And I mean, we could all sit here all day and talk about the amount of clients we've had over the years and that we've got now. And you can imagine those two people trying to get together
Just having
somehow.
a chat. Yeah, awful.
Hello and welcome to another episode of the Complete Agent Podcast, where each week we get together to talk all things estate agency. As ever, my name is David Warburton. It never changes.
No.
I'm joined by my colleagues in the industry, Mr. James Kendall and Ian Storey, and we have got a special guest to introduce you today, Mr. Giles Ellwood. Giles, say hello, mate.
Hello, everyone. Yes, firstly, thank you very much for the invitation. Really looking forward to it. Listened to a couple of your podcasts in the past, and it's very exciting. I'm excited to be here. So
good stuff. Well, listen, thanks for joining us. I know you've got some really exciting topics to talk about today, and JK is going to do a fantastic bio of you in a minute. So he will not have ChatGPT'd it. I promise you, he hasn't ChatGPT'd it at all. But as ever, the opening tradition on the podcast is to ask everybody how their weeks has been. And this week, I'm going to go to myself first, because normally I go last. And my week has been diarrhea.
You do realise that? Okay.
Just to be clear, actually diarrhea.
Yeah. It's not. Do you know? It's when I look at the numbers and everything, it doesn't seem bad, but it just feels like one of those weeks. Like I spoke to you lads about it. Fall throughs, which is a problem at the moment, and fickle buyers and things like that, and just problems. I mean, just to share a few here, we had I've had a fall through yesterday on one at 600,000 because there's an issue with the title that isn't really an issue, but the main problem is that on the day that the guy second view it just to cement everything, and bear in mind we're sort of 8-10 weeks into the process here, the neighbour came out and gave him a load of abuse. And just basically started arguing about whose parking spot was whose and all that sort of stuff. And it just immediately put him off, and he pulled the plug the next day, saying, I'm not inheriting a dodgy neighbour like that. We then had another one where it's all been agreed at 800,000 on proof of funds, everything's done, and she's just decided that she no longer wants an Edwardian property 3 weeks on.
Oh my God.
Another one where we'd agreed a sale at 695, at 690. And basically, somebody else was buying it at first, but it was just taking a little bit too long getting all his stuff together. And sadly, he'd had a bereavement. And he did openly say that I'm just not in the right headspace now. If you want to remarket it, I'll find someone else. He understands that the homeowner is looking for a bit of speed here. So we went to this other party on the instructions of the vendor. These guys offered 690 on this house. We said, great news. You've now been accepted. Fantastic, we'll send you all our proof of funds. They sent all the proof of funds and then started trying to neg downwards. It's like, we've decided we only want to offer 675 now, thinking that the owner was desperate. I was like, no, it's 690 or it's not a deal. Okay, we'll do 680. Like, no, you're not listening. It's 690 or it's not a deal. But this is not all in one conversation, by the way. They prefer to communicate by email. It's back and forth. It's going on for days.
Mate.
And they finally came back and said, we'll do 685. And I went, it has to be 690 or we'll just put the house back on the market. And the next day they came back and went, right, we've done all our numbers, Dave. We've had a good think. It's 680. I'm like, what? Am I being recorded here? Am I being recorded?
You are now, mate. Yes, a podcast.
It's a spoof. What is going on? So I've just had one of those weeks and a couple of dodgy chains. But, on paper, we should have our best exchange month of the year. We've taken offers at 1,070,000 this week, another one yesterday at 1.33 million, a nice little one on relocate at 265. And I was at a take on yesterday at a £3 million house, and I'm at a take on today at £700,000 house. So it's not all bad. It's just that those those ones that really consume you. I've had one of those weeks. So
that's the market, isn't it?
It's not all that bad, but that is the market, and I'm sure we'll talk a little bit about it later on. But that's my week in a nutshell. Let's go to you, JK.
Well, just for everyone listening, one prayer for Dave, because he's obviously not in a good place at the moment. But no, on the other side, we've had a really good week, actually. We've had a real stormer. We've agreed one offers over 850 at nearly 900, 9 days of marketing. We staged the house, we styled the house, and then we sold the house. And we filmed it as well. We filmed it before, so as an empty shell, nothing in it. Did like a behind the scenes with Sandra going to the house. Did a behind the scenes of getting like the furniture in and getting it all set up. Took before and after photos, etc. Then we've done a load of viewings. Got 4 offers, over asking. Sellers delighted. They've emigrated as well, so they are super happy. And they paid help up front with staging and stuff as well, so they can really see the value and the benefit. So it's been a really good week for that. I mean, it's not just the one sale, we've done a few others. Just about to get the draft video through of our £3.5 million pounder. We had a bit of a nightmare with the weather, so internally it looks great, but externally, because it's thatched, again, I'm sure you guys would agree, when you photograph a thatched property, you've got to photograph it in the sun, because the way the roof looks when it's overcast and rainy is completely different to how it looks in the glorious sunshine. So we've got the money shot now. We're really happy with that. And yeah, that's coming to the market. A couple of other little sales as well. Signed up another 650 gold dust 2%er. So really happy with that. But yeah, all good across the board, to be fair. I'm waiting for something to go wrong, to be honest. It's always that way, isn't it, at the moment, where you agree a load of sales, you agree sort of 10 sales in the space of like 7 or 8 days, and then all of a sudden, like, I suppose it's my turn to be up, isn't it, for a change, because I was down a couple of weeks ago.
You know what, you're right, JK. I mean, it is difficult. I have to say, this is a year where whenever I've agreed a sale, like, I should be delighted that I've got offers in, particularly on the 2 there, 1 million and 1.33 million, big 2% fees and stuff, but I'm just not. Not yet, because it's just I think that it's probably the sentiment in the market. People listening will feel the same. It just feels so fickle at the moment. I don't think anything's guaranteed. It just feels like that type of market, almost a bit like it's got a recession feel to it, I would say.
Yeah, I think I said a little while back on another podcast, it's got a recession feel to it.
Did you? Right. Okay.
Yeah.
I don't know where you heard that.
We won't go down that rabbit hole. Let's hand over to Ian, because I'm really keen to start the conversation with Giles today. So, Mr. Ian Storey, if you have any famous quotes you'd like to quote before Giles goes, please do. But how has your week been, mate?
Well, I've always said to clients in evaluation that you're not selling your house, you're selling your buyer's next house. And I really find that resonates well on valuations. Speaking of valuations, we target the team to book 10 a week. Of course, most of those sort of happen anyway because of our reputation, and we've been hovering around that kind of level consistently. So I'm pleased with the incoming business. Good offers, no sales since we recorded the last podcast, agree, but we know it's funny old game, isn't it? Talk about it being fickle. We've had a house on the market for probably knocking on 6 months. We did a price alteration on it to 1.75. We've had 3 offers over 1.8 within 2 weeks. One of them cash yesterday that Phil's handling. So hopefully that'll get tied up. We've got a second viewing on one at 2.3 mil this coming weekend. We have had 3 fallers. One was a linked transaction. So one fell, the other fell. And I'm sure we'll come on to that. 2 brilliant launches this week for me. So we had one at 950, which was a stable conversion. You might call it a barn conversion with land, beautiful setting, really lovely listing that, 950 at 2%. And one at really nice one at 2.5 million, which is the Bond Villain House that I've been banging on about.
Yeah, beautiful, mate. Fantastic videos, by the way, on that.
Thank you. Yeah, I mean, that's an amazing house. That's 2.5 mil, 2% as well. So 2 good launches. Matt, our new senior value, who started about 3 weeks ago, I think, a month. His listings are now starting to come through. So Scott has got 14 photo shoots this week and next, and going into the week after. So plenty of nice stuff coming on the market. a few, probably two, taking a winter break, which I found has worked well for us in the past. And it's almost a retention strategy for not losing clients if you can manage it correctly. And if you're in touch with them and they trust, your reasons for doing it, we put it on the market, put it back on the market next year. Hopefully, obviously at a lower price if needs be. We've hit our target for the year already. So we put a target, a 3-tier target in place for the team bonus. We've hit the lower level of that target now already, and we had our completion last week on our £4.3 million pounder. So
that probably helps.
We should be paying the team a really lovely bonus just before Christmas, which will be superb to be able to do. I wrote down your quote, JK, and I'm going to use it, which is that we staged it, we styled it, and we sold it.
There you go. I stole that. Dave Warburton.
Yeah. Is that me?
In around an hour, I will be putting that on LinkedIn. And
I've already put it on, mate. I've literally just done it now. So, shall we get into today's guest? So, I actually have got a brief bio written actually by somebody else. So, Giles, I'm going to introduce you. I hope to read this out. Well, if not, I'll edit it and do it again. So it sounds like I am the pro. So Giles Ellwood is the CEO and founder of HomeSearch, a leading property data and technology business focused on empowering estate agents through innovation. With over 2 decades of experience in PropTech and digital strategy, Giles has been at the forefront of using data to help agents market properties more intelligently and reach new audiences. He's widely recognised for his insight into technology and now artificial intelligence, and is reshaping property search and consumer behaviour. That was almost perfect. In 2025, Giles led the launch of Halo, the UK's first AI-native listings optimization tool designed to help agents ensure property listings are discoverable across AI search engines such as ChatGPT, Copilot, Gemini, and Perplexity. Giles, welcome to the podcast. How's your week been?
My week's been interesting actually, and actually when I was listening to yours, I was thinking, God, I need some like decent property stats. When I listened to a couple of your other podcasts, it was super interesting listening to each of the deals and where they went, and what offers you accepted and how you got them in the right place. And I thought, God, my chat about tech is going to be boring compared to this. But I've got some relevant conversations that have happened this week. One of my colleagues, who I work really close with, he was selling his house, and he came to me and said, Giles, I'm selling my house. We're moving. It's a family house. We've lived there for ages. We're moving out of London because, we need to get the kids into some sort of slightly more balanced schools. And he said, I don't really know what to do. I don't know which agent to go for. And I said, look, let's pull the data. Let's figure out which agents are selling that kind of stuff. Let's work out who's got the shortest time on market, the least reductions, and he said, look, my wife's already gone out, had a look. We've got a couple of quotes from a couple of agents, and this one's the cheapest. So I looked at him and I was like, okay, firstly, that is the absolute opposite way of looking at this.
Yeah.
They're the ones who are going to keep you on the market for the longest, probably reduce you twice, and then drop you off. At that point, you'll have probably lost your onward move. You'll have probably given up in the process, and you'll be depressed. Winter will be on us, and everything will fall apart. We need to spin this around completely. And I'd actually like to encourage you to think about how much more can you pay the agent? How can we actually come up with a fee structure? Even if, because it's in Earlsfield, and, there's a lot of competition there from agents. And I said, look, we need to go out, get some quotes for some, big groups, some mid-independents, and some small, really people who are going to take this instruction on. Oh my God, this is a long story, right? But
no, it's good. It's interesting.
Yeah. So, we got these quotes in, and they were all about sort of 1.25, 1.275, 1.28, right? And there's one person said, look, we might get 1.3 if we really, we get it on Rightmove and we really get enough people through the door. And I said to him, look, dude, this is not how we need to be thinking about this. We need to find a balanced approach, ideally one of the agents we think is going to have the best internal network, people who have already got buyers registered. Let's not put it on the market as such, right? Because you can always use that as the sort of, balancing thing. And so they did. And they initially fought back. They said, look, no, we think it's better we stick it straight on the market and just see what comes through the door. And I said, no, they're probably going to do that out of habit. just encourage them to have a good weekend where they get as much interest in their database as possible to come and have a look at it. And he goes, all right, but what about the fee? Do you think we should bargain them down a bit? And I said, no, you need to bargain them up. Say to them, look, if you achieve what everyone else has said they're going to achieve, then yeah, sure, you can have the 1% you're asking for. But if you can get 1.295, then you can have 1.5%. If you can get 325 or whatever it is, you can have 1.75. And then if you get to 1.35, which is nobody said anything's possible, give them 2%. Look at the numbers. It works out. And so he was like, this is illogical, but he did it anyway. And I'm really excited to tell you that they did it. They had a crap load of people come through the door on the weekend, and they had multiple offers, and they've agreed a deal at 1.34.
Wow.
And so,
excellent.
Yeah, he's literally over the moon because he's made, I don't know, what is it, 75K or something more than that he was probably looking at, which has given them, and they've also found a really progressive buyer, no chain,
perfect.
Everything's moving forward. So that was one little property story. And I've got another random little one.
It's interesting, isn't it?
It's super interesting. And, I was a bit like, oh, God, I hope this works. Because the reality is that the sort of the fear of we could put this on the market, funnily enough, I think that was what drove them to bid up. And so, they completely controlled it. He didn't get himself in a crappy place. And, there was no like, okay, we've showed all our best goods now to everyone. And now the only direction is downwards. They basically kept it exclusive, and it was cool. It was so good to see because in theory that's how it should work. And
we should be grateful to you as well because you effectively, or he, I assume he, I'm sure you said he, but you've made him another 75 grand by switching his thinking.
Yeah, and he agreed to deal in a week and a half. I mean,
there you go.
This from a week of saying, Giles, what do you think I should do? To, I can't believe it. I've got an amazing buyer who's desperate to move in before Christmas. They've already commissioned a survey. They've got legals in place. They're doing everything. And so, probably by the time they would have been looking at the first reduction, having just kind of put it through the factory, actually he'll be out there with the money in his bank. So I think that when I listened to your podcast, I was just thinking, God, you guys remind me of people who go to the gym, and what I mean by that is
that all of us? Just
not James. You mean
I can't see all your physiques, but what I mean is your agency muscles. Your agency muscles remind me, and I speak to other agents as well. Like, I mean, Sean Newman. I always find it's always inspiring to talk to him because he's like, Giles, it's 2.5%. That's how much it is, and I'll give my absolute best, and my team will give their best as well. And I love that. I admire that so much because you speak to other agents, it's like, look, we'll match the 1%, or oh God, if they're giving 1%, we'll do 0.75, and you just think, God, after all your costs, you're probably going to lose money on this.
Yeah, and so, public service, not a business, is it?
Yeah. And it's the public disservice.
Yeah,
but I think that when I was listening to your podcast, I was like, Jesus, there are so many great agents out there that understand this, and it reminds me of people who go to the gym. Some people come in and they're like, I want to get big, or I want to get strong, I want to get fit, and they go there. They push a couple of things a bit too heavy. They don't know what they're doing. They suddenly realize they hurt themselves. Then they don't come back, and then they never come back. And that's it. They're gone. And whereas anyone who does go to gym realizes it takes a bit of time to like learn this stuff and commit to it. Right? You have to have the resilience to just keep going. And then after a while, it breaks, doesn't it? And all of a sudden, you're like, wow, I don't even need to push that hard. I don't even need to fight with myself to get there. I quite enjoy it now. And I feel really healthy. And I think that's the same with good agency as well. And I think that, once you get to that point, like listening to all you guys talk about navigating these awesome instructions into place and winning great deals, getting amazing outcomes for the vendor and happy buyers as well without the stress, that is the result of resilience and determination and kind of just keeping steady with it as well.
It's consistency. Let me just quote something. We had I had a quote, a comment on one of our LinkedIn posts yesterday from a guy, another agent actually, who commented on one of my posts, and it really resonated with me. And I'm going to share it with our complete agent members as well. And it's a bit of a humble brag, but I think it applies to other agents as well, if you can be consistent. This other agent said, basically, our marketing's amazing. He thinks that I'll read you the quote. Some amazing listings. We admire how you've created and developed the amazing and turned it into the consistent norm. And I thought, that's brilliant. Consistency on every single thing that you do is absolutely key. And I think that's where a lot of people, agents generally fall down. The consistency is the absolute key. But it is a slog at the start, isn't it? Maybe it's a slog forever. You've got to keep going. Never let go,
Nothing worth doing is easy.
Have a clarity of purpose as well. And I think if you have always clarity of purpose, you'll always deliver that excellence, even when it is a slog. But I realised you asked me how was my week. That was a really high highlight because I really helped my colleague, and we won in the sense that it was a great outcome for everyone. Even the buyer was super happy about it. But I've got some very good news, and that's that this week we signed up one of the largest groups of agency in the country, and I mean they're coming on with 20 brands onto Halo, and they've got I think about a network of well over 1,500, and I'm not talking about probably the one you think it is. It's a very dynamic group. And so, that came on board. So we are nearly at 6,000 branches. I mean, they haven't released that to the media yet.
Wow.
So actually, I probably just may have accidentally let that slip. But we're nearly 6,000 branches. So it's been an amazing week. I mean, sleep has been quite sort of selective and optional. But I mean, other than that, everything's going quite well. I guess that was my week. That was a cool. That was. But tell me where would you like to go with this? What would you love to know?
So I was going to say you've got quite an interesting journey, like because you started in I obviously saw luxury media, and you've sort of transitioned to property data. What was kind of the spark that made you move into kind of the prop tech world originally?
Interesting question. I think actually my journey with property started even longer ago than that. I think, you could say it started 39 years ago when I was 7 years old. And my mum was working 3 jobs, and one of them was an estate agent. And, she was, basically raised by my mum alone, me, my brother and my mum. She was working her arse off just to sort of pay the bills. And, she'd come back and talk to me about floor plans and square feet and bedrooms. And I saw an amazing flat with double height windows. And I'm like, Mum, I'm 7. Do you know what I mean? I don't know what you're talking about. But a couple of years later, I got into programming when I was 9 years old. And I became obsessed with it and data and engineering and stuff like that. And I was kind of building complex systems by the age of 12, 13. And then I sort of got on with school. Left school, went to university, hated that, by the way. Got back as soon as I could. I did door-to-door sales just to get my way through university to pay my bills. And then when I came back from uni, I got back and I was like, Mum, I graduated. And she's like, great, go get a job. And I was like, yeah, I will. I'm applying. She goes, yeah, I know. You've got to apply for a real job, but go and get a job today. And so I went down to a local agency and they said, how do you feel about property? And I was like, yeah, love it. Let's do it. So they basically plonked me in a porter cabin in the middle of a car park with a load of floor plans and said, if anyone comes by, give them one of these and just wait for a professional to turn up. And, don't try and sell them anything. And so essentially I was selling off-plan property on, a car park where they were building a development. Actually, I think the first person who came through the door, I was so happy just to see somebody because I'd been sitting in this porter cabin for a couple of days at this point. And they just launched the site. I was just talking to them about everything. Like, there's kitchens and the bathrooms that can be here. And there's a floor plan. Look at this amazing view over the back of this train rail line and all this stuff. And, I remember telling this buyer, I was like, look, these Italian tiles, they're really gorgeous. They're like, isn't porcelanosa Spanish? And I was like, yes, quite possibly, but it sounds very
Mediterranean. Let's not split hairs.
Yeah, exactly. So it kind of started there. I worked in property for about 18 months, but I was always destined to start my own company. I wanted to do it since I was like nothing years old. So I left and I sold my car, sold everything I had, and launched a little magazine, a local magazine in the Docklands near Canary Wharf. Like, when was it? 2005. I launched it. And no contacts, no experience, no investment, no idea. I was literally learning on the job, learning how to design in the evening. I went out door-to-door selling the advertising, which is quite a hard slog, actually, advertising sales, because nobody wants to talk to you. Nobody really wants to spend money on advertising, not that type of print advertising. And actually, the one people who did want to talk to me were estate agents. And I was like, cool, so let's do this. And, won my first double page spread with paper, scissors, stone, which was a hairy moment. And yeah, we grew this publishing business quite quickly. I think, went from 250,000 revenue in the first year to 750,000 next year, 3.5 million the year after that. I had 60 staff, 3 offices.
Wow.
We were doing 250,000 magazines a month. It was rocking, and loved it. And then the global financial crisis hit, and our revenue literally overnight just disappeared. You guys must remember some of that when when 2008 broke.
Yeah.
It's like, Jesus, nobody's buying anything, and of course you had to cut your costs everywhere. And then shortly after that, we kind of pivoted into events, kept the publishing business going but smaller. Pivoted into events, and then started to kind of make break even again, let's say. But it was still a slog. And so I then started asking the question, like, could data about properties help us understand where to deliver these magazines? And this is where it starts to come into kind of relevance, because we engineered a solution for ourselves, truly, like, to help our own business, to understand how to target people better. So homeowners, you can look at 2 identical houses, both worth whatever, 2 mil in wherever, Fulham, and one of them was bought by a banker last year for 50% cash, 50% mortgage, which he'll probably pay off his next bonus next year, and the other person has owned the property for 30 years, worries about her council tax bill, but on the surface of it, they're both £2 million houses. But for a luxury magazine, you don't want to put one in one, but you do want to get it in the other. So we built this kind of relative wealth index system that could inform our distributors where to put the magazines. Anyway, it really took off. Everything started working well, and revenue started getting back to normal again. And estate agents all said, look, we'll advertise in your funny little local magazines, but we love the way you distribute it. Can we use that system for ourselves, for our own direct marketing, our own targeting? And so I said, yeah, cool. Just thought, yeah, they said they'd advertise. I've done my job. And after I heard that 5 times, I thought, hold on a second, there could be something in this. So 2014, we pivoted it into its own business called Address Intelligence, and it's still running today. And it's the leading provider of enterprise off-market canvassing for the likes of, the big enterprise companies, who just want to kind of set and forget solution. And so, yeah, that skyrocketed. We, literally, it was me and one other person running it in 2015, and we did about 350K. The next year, I think we did 1.2 million, then 4.5 million. And
Blimey.
We made a really decent profit on that, in that 2017 year. I think it was over 1 million EBITDA. And I sort of said to this team, that had grown this team from 2, me and this one girl, to 40. And at the end of 2017, we said, guys, we've got amazing news. We've won all these enterprise customers. We're now breaking into healthcare and insurance and all these fields. We've made 1.2 million EBITDA, after tax, before tax profit. And we've generated 6.5 billion items of data. And a bit like Minions, they went quiet for a second. They went, 1.2 million, yeah! And I was like, no, guys, I saved the best till last. 6.5 billion items of data we've generated, and we've made this. And they were like, 1.2 million, yeah! I was like, okay, guys, you don't get this. Right, that's done it. I took my best data engineer and I said, look, I gave the business to my brother. I've always run every business I've ever run, my brother, 50-50. Amazingly, we've been in business for 20 years and we've not argued once. Isn't that insane? I don't know. And he's not an easy guy. But he's been amazing actually. And so every time I've launched a new business and then started it, built it up to something decent, I'm like, look, you handle this. I've got bigger business to do. And I moved on to the next one. And the poor guy's still got 4 or 5 businesses that he's still running and they're all still quite successful. But he always is like, okay, fine, I'll deal with this. And you go off to the exciting stuff. Anyway, so I took my data engineer because we realized in 2017 that we were sending tens of millions of direct mails to homeowners and houses where we were using data to better understand their position and also better engineer the information that we sent to these homes. And we were able to identify that by using information correctly, like data's worthless unless you can turn it into meaningful information. Data's just data. But if you can turn it into information and leverage it well, you can actually change customer behavior. Like if you can help them understand that there's someone genuinely interested in buying their home, and you can connect with them by saying the buyer actually is looking for a 4-bed, 1,500 square foot detached house with a south-facing rear garden. They desperately don't want to be near a big train line or a big noisy motorway. They want to be at least 10 minutes from the station. We were engineering the stuff by hand, basically, in those days. But when the homeowner read that, it wasn't just, we've got a buyer looking for your home. Because that doesn't resonate with anyone. That's like, okay, this is just classic crap, recycle, hopefully. But when you actually connect with them and they go, this is 1,500 square feet, this is a 4-bed, this is detached, we've got a south-facing garden, this estate agent has really thought about this.
Yeah.
Have they been watching us? But we were able to set that up at scale, where we're sending out tens and tens of thousands, hundreds of thousands of these mailers. And so we were able to generate just insane numbers of valuations for the likes of Knight Frank and Savills and Hamptons and all these enterprise customers. And so, I realized that if we could turn this into a digital solution that helped connect estate agents to home searchers in a way that put the agent in the middle of it, we could generate untold kind of instructions. And so we set off on that mission the end of 2017. So we started 2018. We thought, right, we've been working in data for ages. It's going to take 6 months to figure this data out. Actually, it was such a mess. There was so much mess in the industry of data that it took 20 months, and we launched just before the pandemic. You guys probably remember this. We launched just before the pandemic. I think we launched in January 2020, and 750 agents picked it up immediately. They were like, this is cool, let's do it. February 2020, we won our first seed investment, which was like a decent 3+ million seed investment. And we were on a cool journey. And then in March 2020, someone ate a bat who, did something else weird. And before you know it, the entire world was different. And we had to basically abandon our hopes of this because at the time we were working with machine learning, which is a kind of elemental form of AI. Ourselves, we were building these GPU clusters in our office and trying to process these billions of items of data to make sense of it. So we were kind of working with AI and ML back in those days, but to no great avail, to be honest, because in those days you'd have to put a huge amount of cost into energy, and it was very clunky. And so then we had to get kicked out of our office because of the pandemic, and we all went remote, and we kind of just thought, oh shit, we're going to have to figure this out. So we went more to a B2B place, and it was a long journey. I'm sure you guys remember. We won't bring up the past. The pandemic was a complicated time for us all. Anyway, so about a year ago, we kind of resurrected the concept of using artificial intelligence ML because, of course, ChatGPT and all these big sort of platforms have just exploded. We're like, I wonder if we could achieve what we tried to set up back then, but using kind of AI as a service, APIing our data to be processed. So we tested it about a year and a bit ago. We then spoke to some incredible companies like Google and spoke to a consultant from DeepMind as well, amazing company. They pretty much invented AI. They invented the transformer architecture in what is GPT. Okay. So ironically, DeepMind, who are owned by Google, a separate division, amazing company. They do some incredible things, but they kind of really sorted out the T of GPT, and then AI, ChatGPT kind of took it and then made it popular. Anyway, so we started using it, started doing it, and it worked. We were like, oh my God, we can actually connect agents and their stock to consumers in a way that allows a consumer to say specifically what they want, leverages all of our data, and connects the consumer directly to the estate agent. It was a real kind of revelation moment. And so we were working in stealth for about 6 months. And then in August, we launched it. And we called it Halo. So that means HomeSearch, AI, listing, optimizer. And
so how does that? So let me ask you a question then. So because there'll be different levels. Like amongst us, they know me as the nerd. So I kind of obviously understand like GPT, and I mean, we've obviously got basic understanding of how those sort of things work.
Yeah.
But for your average Dave that's listening to this,
Ian.
your average Ian, sorry, that's listening to this, what does that mean in the real world?
Okay. So interesting question. I think, there are so many ways, the problem is that it is quite a complex subject. And when you start unpacking it in a simple form, you go down a rabbit hole. And so I'll do my best to sort of stay into the non-rabbit hole zones. I think that there is also a misunderstanding about what this means, optimized for AI, by the way, because a lot of agents are kind of waking up to the fact that AI isn't just it's not just a trend.
Not a fad, is it?
Yeah, it's not a fad. It's not a
happening.
trend. It's a tidal wave. And I think the other thing is when people are comfortable enough around us and me, they're like, look, Giles, can you just explain something? What actually is it? What is AI? What does it mean? What is it? I had a conference with a load of agents, really good agents, but they were much more kind of country-based agents selling some incredible property. And one of them came up to me afterwards because, look, I didn't want to ask the question in front of like 100 people, but could you just explain to me? You seem to explain it well, but what actually is it? What is it? Is it AI? And I was like, to be honest, AI is not really an it. It's a how, right? So don't think of it as a thing. Think of it as a how. Think of it as a way in which you can process huge amounts of information all at once. AI fundamentally is a kind of a partnership between very, very powerful hardware, which was originally designed for kind of computer gaming. And I can explain that another day if you ever wanted to, but probably not waste our time on this. But funny enough, yeah, I won't go into it. It's fascinating, but I won't. But yeah, it's a way of combining this kind of hardware that can process very small little decisions at very large scales very, very quickly in parallel. Right. So old processing was very much in serial. You can have very powerful processors that get a load of information. They can chew their way through it. Whereas parallel processing using GPU clusters effectively can take a whole load of information all at once and make sense of it. And so it mates that super cool hardware to software that works that out. So essentially it's a how. And when you start thinking of it as a how, you start to realize, oh, I see. So AI basically means transforming a lot of information into sense. And the way GPT architecture works, it uses things like neural networks to try and put things into human context. So just imagine AI is a way of making human sense of large amounts of information, right? And I think that's one way of doing it. I told you, we'll end up in a rabbit hole no matter how desperately I try. And I know Einstein said, if you can't explain something clearly enough, then you don't understand it well enough. But I think the thing is
with AI though, like, and I think you're articulating it like technically well, but for your average Joe, the way that I kind of see it is it's like having a human computer assistant that is brilliant at everything. And that's kind of the way I generally. I mean, look, that's not it in technical terms.
That is a good way of explaining it. Yeah,
that's kind of, I suppose, it in a nutshell. So then, I guess to go down, because you put a great post on LinkedIn the other day, and I think we had some interaction on it, and it was all about how in the US, I think they plugged Zillow into ChatGPT, and that is the way that property search is going to evolve. I had this conversation with a couple of agents recently. I've had this conversation actually with a client of mine that actually works in the AI space about how the way people search for homes is changing. And that behavior is going to change rather than and not just homes, anything. I mean, I think the stat is 40% of searches in the US now, rather than going to Google, are starting with AI. Exactly that. And that
home searching, home searchers.
Home searching,
using some form of AI. So 40% of home search, it's actually 39. We rounded up to 40. Hope no one's going to kill us. It's probably 40 by now, so we could be all right on that one. But yeah, 39% of people in America are now starting their home search with some form of AI. And if you think about the way that consumers really would love to search, like going back in time, you're not like R14, price this to price that, beds this to beds that, and maybe a keyword. That's not a real search. A real search is, I'm kind of agnostic to exactly where I'm in. I know some people, it's this street or nothing, or it's this part of that town or nothing, that part of the village or nothing. But there are lots of people who are like, look, I can afford this much. And I'd ideally really like to have a garden. It must be south-facing. I've had a north-facing garden. It was sad. I need to be 10 minutes from a station, which is about an hour away from London or from Manchester or wherever it is. I've got an electric car, so I need to park it on the drive to charge it. I don't want to buy something where I'm going to be paying a premium for something that's just been done up. I'd like actually to get my drill out on the weekend and do some DIY. So something with a bit of potential to expand would be amazing. And and then if you could really magic wand the home search, it would be also my mum's getting a bit, and she lives here, so ideally I don't want to be too far from her. My kids are breaking. One is going into a primary school. The other one needs a good senior school. My wife runs a little kind of artistry business. She doesn't. I don't. But she runs a little artistry business. So if she could be near kind of a local park where she can get people to work on that, that'd be amazing. Like, that's what a real search looks like. But you just can't do it.
What I'm really interested about that is, I was just going to say, is that from having used various different data services, HomeSearch, etc., like in principle, with all the data that's available, that's not that difficult, is it? Realistically, it's
up until
mapping
now,
different things.
Yeah, true. But
I mean, it was a
slow process.
It didn't currently exist. But what I guess I'm trying to get at is, and I'm not here to try and bash any portal particularly, but this is the conversation I was having with a client the other day, that you go onto Rightmove and you can search how many bedrooms you want and the price. But if you're looking for a barn conversion, you're looking for character, you're looking something for a minimum of a third of an acre, large garden, you only want to see houses with south-facing gardens, all of those things, that all the, I suppose, the nuances for each person's situation are not available. It is literally a box. And in a market where there is more on the market than there has been for the last sort of 10, 12 years, you're constantly having to search and filter through, when, as you said, AI is getting to know all of us. We've been amongst AI in various forms in the last 10 years and haven't even realized it. So things as simple as Alexa, you're being profiled with data, and it'll get to a point, in my view, where, you've got your assistant, it will be assistant. So that whether that assistant looks like Alexa or GPT or whatever it is, that AI assistant will know you better than you know you. So then, you then ask it, right, as you just articulated really well, I'm looking for this and I need this for my mum and this and that. And it will go, okay, here is blah, 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 blah. And all of the addresses that are on the market, but also equally, here's what's not on the market. And, here's where you need to be looking for. And I think that's really where agents can drill down. So in terms of Halo, and what for Joe Blogs listening to this, going, great, simple, guys, this sounds brilliant. But what is it, and how does it help me as Joe Blogs estate agent?
Cool. I think in simple terms, it's a 20-second activation. You go to our website, HomeSearch, or halo.homesearch, and you just say, this is my agency name, this is my name, this is my phone number, or this is contact me, is my email address. This is how many branches I've got, one or many, and this is my CRM. Literally a 20-second form. You push activate, and that's it. Halo's activated for you, because we have already set up the connections and the relationships with the CRMs. And so at the point that agent does that, what happens is, in the background, we then say to the CRM, hey, great news, James has just signed up. He's got X number of branches, and you're his CRM. So they switch one button on, and ironically, that one same feed that they were sending to the likes of Rightmove, etc., comes into the Halo engine. So we take in 3-bed, semi-detached house, 480k, location this, description this. We take that in, and then we would use, that when I said in 2017 we had 6.5 billion items of data, today we have 25 billion. What happens is, though, that listing comes in exactly as it would have gone up to the portals. It comes into Halo, to the Halo engine, and we add a whole load of extra natural language context to it. Like, okay, this one has a south-facing rear garden. It's big enough for a barbecue and a football a little football game with your kid. It's also 10 minutes from the local station, which has got parking. That's an hour from London. The schools are these. They're all excellent, good. It's got potential for planning. It's not been renovated. It's got double glazing. It adds a whole load of extra stuff in the background. It then makes all of those listings that have been kind of additionally furnished with positive information available to those big search tools like ChatGPT and things like that. And so essentially, Halo enables estate agents' direct listings directly from their CRM to be optimized, to be discovered by these big AIs, because consumers are moving to them, right? At such a scale, like 10 times faster than the internet grew.
Yeah.
That's how
so
fast
am I right in thinking then, so Halo is a little bit, it's not a portal as such, but what it is it's grabbing, so it's taking, so a bit like, so I suppose I'm just trying to contextualize it in my mind,
James,
right? So
yeah, you're right. Yeah.
At the moment we've got, we're with Street, and from Street goes to Rightmove via like
real-time data feed, API.
Yeah, real-time data feed to Rightmove. And then, you can also get, like we've got a Property Hive feed, which is like a WordPress plugin that basically takes an XML file with similar data, pushes that to our website and populates the fields. Am I right in thinking that in its most basic form, you're taking that file from the CRM, it goes into Halo, gets indexed, gets added to, gets furnished with extra sort of rich pieces of data, and then Halo is kind of, I guess, storing that and then feeding that out to the different APIs, etc.
Spot on. Literally, when you every day you're in your CRM, Street or Reaper or wherever it is, and you effectively put a new listing on. You just want a new listing. You stick it in your CRM and you push publish to portals. Right. As soon as you do that, it goes up to Rightmove, goes up to Super, goes up to On the Market, or whichever ones you're with.
Yeah.
At that point, it also can go up to Halo Engine. Right. And at that point, it then starts getting processed instantly, right. And then is made, as you say, indexed and discoverable by these big AIs.
So next question then. So I'm Roblox consumer, and I now, so let's say, for example, I sign up with Halo, the file's gone across, and then, so in a real world example, whether I'm using, I guess, Gemini or ChatGPT or whatever, and I go, right, I really want to move out, because this is the way it's going, whether people accept it or not, this is the way it's going. So let's say in a week's time, I go, I'm looking for a 3-bed semi in Bolton. What happens? The data comes through in ChatGPT and says this is where they are, and do they get a link to Halo and then through to us, or how does that work?
So yes, that's exactly what happens. The goal is to get your listing seen by that customer, but with your phone number, your contact details, your contact form, a link to your website as well. Our goal is to drive traffic to you guys as well directly. Okay, so now if you do that, I would actually recommend any of you guys or any of the listeners to go on ChatGPT or whatever AI they use and go, I want a 3-bedroom semi-detached, near Bolton, and see what happens. Put in a price range. Do that search. Yeah, no, mate, no comment. I've no idea about that. But what they'll probably find is a load of kind of brokenish links from portals, because portals don't really want that to happen. Again, I'm not anti-portal, because, I'm not going to look back at the past and go, that's not cool. I'm only really looking at the future. But what happens is a portal's goal is to try and drive traffic into their ecosystem and keep them there, right? Because that's a real key goal. Now, if they just suddenly said, okay, cool, you can read all of our listings and just let your users sieve out the 4 they actually care about, not the 400 they'd have to browse through, that would really break the whole concept, right? So they don't really want that to happen. So they make it a little bit hard, which is why when you do the search now on an AI, you'll see that it's not exactly the best outcome. AI also can't look at every single listing on every single estate agent's website in Bolton all at once without incurring enormous cost. So it won't do that. It actually wants an easy life. The AIs want an easy life. So what are their options? 1, go look at portals. They don't want it to really happen, so they're not going to be very easygoing about it. Not going to get the best answer. Going to get some out-of-date stuff, get some blocks. Or I can go and look at the 300 agents in Bolton and then look at all of their 300 websites that have all of their 200 properties, and suddenly I'm having to compare tens of thousands of listings to try and figure out what James is after. That is a very expensive process.
So can I just say, while we're on air, I've literally just gone into ChatGPT and just put, I want a 3-bed semi to buy in Bolton. And it says, good news, James. There are 3-bed semi detached. Currently it's in the Bolton area. So we've got a base from which to start. The first listing is a portal. Second listing is a portal. But Dave, you'll be pleased to know that there's also 2 other sources that have come up. One from WeLocate and another one from Burton James. That are
ahead of the game. I am ahead of the game.
Yeah. So it is interesting that there's a few that come up, and obviously you can click the links and go into it. The 3-bed semi that's come up is Abercorn Road, but it's also taken me to your website.
But that was, do you know what, weirdly, that was sold like last year.
That's the problem, right? So there you go, and this is what you call a hallucination, because they are under pressure to not. So every time an AI goes off to do it, so AI is incredible at things it already knows. So this is really important for people to understand. AI models, like you may have heard of ChatGPT 5, ChatGPT 4, ChatGPT 3. Every time you see one of these new numbers, that's because all of the mega boffins, like these, triple PhD super brains, have been building a model, and they work on it for 6 months, they train it for 6 months, then they release it. It is absolutely incredible at knowing what it's already read and learnt on. That's what they call training. But as soon as you say, actually, I need to buy a property that's available today, not that you found 6 months ago, I need something live. The AI is like, oh God, I mean, I didn't train on the past. I've been trained on the past, not the present, the future. So I need to now do a web search. So that super intelligent AI then has to rely on a basic web search, would you believe it? It then does that basic web search. It then interprets the answers through its super intelligence and then tries to give you an answer. But every time it does that search, it costs it money. So it can't do a kind of super mega search because it will cost ChatGPT for that search. Maybe it cost them $1. Can you imagine if they got billed $1 every time someone did a massive search?
Yeah.
And you're only paying them $20 a month. They would be losing a lot of money. So what we've done is we've bridged that gap. We've built a real-time listing data set of all agents' direct listings in real time. And then we've made it so that it's extremely comfortable and accurate and real time for the AIs to read it. So now what they can do is they can go, okay, fine, James has asked for these complex things. I can go off and get a whole load of dated results from the past information. I can try and fight a battle with portals that don't want it to happen. I can look at a couple of websites and maybe find something. Or I can go straight to Halo and go, I can see every single property from every single agent live in real time. And I can ask it very complex questions like, I want a south-facing garden, must be capable to be renovated, et cetera, et cetera. That's what Halo is. So it's a real-time data set of all your listings.
Is it going to be important then, Giles, for keywords and things like that? Because what you said before about, if somebody goes into ChatGPT now and describes the house and in mass detail, so I appreciate we're probably not there, but if they were sort of say, this is my occupation, I need to be within 10 minutes of a train station that gets me into Manchester in half an hour, blah, blah, blah.
Yeah.
If I type that in though, would my listing need to talk to it?
No.
Right.
That's the key. We know that, and that's the reason actually why you can't even do it today, because most agents won't maybe even take the time to work out it's southwest facing, it's this many acres, it's this many meters feet, it's this far away from here. They just go like, right, 3-bedroom semi-detached, Station Road, 400K, here's a description, here's the pictures, just sell it. What we do is we add all of that extra stuff automatically, instantly. So the second you from your CRM send us up that feed, it automatically gets all that stuff added, which means that it will show up to that user who's being hyper specific. And then
so what does it cost? What does it cost someone to be part of Halo then?
So we've got a deal at the moment where you get 3 months free. And I know that my team will absolutely shoot me for saying this, but I reckon for the TCA listeners, I think we need to come up with a slightly more exciting deal just to get you and your team and your people. Yeah, because I think actually the more I listen to your stuff, the more I realise like you guys are exactly the type of cool customer that we would love to speak to because you get it and you're on it. So after the free period, it then is £80 a month. Now, you're probably thinking, hold on a second, that's like 5% of what we currently pay for, things that we currently pay for and do. And the reason is we're not trying to build another thing like that. We're not trying to build a thing that we can just monetize the crap out of estate agents. We are HomeSearch. Our goal is to help connect agents to consumers, right? So the more money we charge you, the more friction we put in the way of all agents adopting this, and the more kind of like you'll not really want to be part of it. And so we're kind of, believe it or not, on the same side. We're not trying to build something we can just monetize the crap out of you guys. We want to effectively make it as comfortable and as powerful as possible for you guys, because I'm very agent centric, as I said. You need an agent in the process. I heard you guys say in the past that AI will come and replace a lot of the low level stuff, but you absolutely cannot replace good agents at the kind of mid and upper levels. The negotiation, the management, the managing of expectations, and there's so many things. And I think a lot of people underestimate.
Now you've mentioned that, I've been sort of, it's been going around in my mind a lot. I suppose it does for a lot of people, doesn't it? When you hear about AI and the scare stories and stuff. But I still think that in the buying and selling of a house, there are two humans, aren't there? The seller and the buyer.
And the
Three.
Yeah,
of course.
You guys. Yeah.
Of course, but there's definitely two, isn't there? A seller and a buyer.
Definitely two.
And I mean, we could all sit here all day and talk about the amount of clients we've had over the years and that we've got now. And you can imagine those two people trying to get together
just having
somehow.
A chat. Yeah, awful.
I mean,
awful
horrendous,
idea.
yeah. But it definitely will replace some of the lower end. I've no idea. There's no question of that for me. But you're right that I just can't see how it could ever fully, because there's always going to be those humans that have to get their heads together to agree something. And I think you need someone to mediate.
So it's a quick question going back onto the AI, the Halo thing. How long will it be? So let's say, for example, we press the button on our thing. So then somebody tomorrow can go, I want to search for blah, blah, blah.
There's two buttons you push. So one is join Halo. It will take between 1 and 3 months for you to be indexed and discovered. But once that happens, it goes into real time.
Fine.
So
that's what I wanted to ask, because I feel like the agency industry is very skeptical. Obviously, there's things like, obviously Purple Bricks came in like 10 years ago, and, it's the agency version of, come in here, taking our jobs.
Yeah.
But so there's people are very distrusting of prop tech companies. And, obviously we are technically a supplier as well of content, etc. But so we do see both sides of the coin. But I guess what I would look at as an agent is I would go, well, when am I going to see a result? And how long is it going to be? And what does it look like? What does it look like in purpose? So I understand how it gets there. I almost understand now what it does, but because in my view, and again, correct me if I'm wrong here, but this is the beginning of the end of portals with AI, with generative search, in my opinion. That's how it's going to work. But for Joe Bloggs listening to this, that doesn't make any sense of what I've just said there. So 3 months in, the feed goes in. Am I right in thinking that in 3 months' time, someone then goes, I want to move to Bolton and I want to Burton James and Relocate are the top listed links or whatever on potentially the listed links on there.
It will just have their phone number on it. It will just have your phone number against that listing. It will have your URL of your website. I mean, there'll be some middle bits that kind of standardize the images. And you asked earlier, James, is it like a portal? And I think, the word portal basically means like a window, right? A window, from one place to another, from the consumer's eye to the property that they would be theoretically be looking at. So, I don't want to say that it's going to be like a portal. It's not. But in terms of you see a listing, you click on information, you see images and square feet and the schools nearby and stations nearby, in that sense, yes, I guess it probably does look a bit like that. But the point for us is to connect that person, that AI user, directly to you guys. And not, because
that's the thing, you need the link, don't you? Because people say AI is going to replace Rightmove, but the data still needs to be held somewhere for AI to be able to.
Yeah, it does. Yeah, otherwise it's a mess. We are here to kind of aggregate the voices of all agents to ensure that you are seen first. in that transformation. I think that's a good way of
the way I'm getting this now. So if I were to try and explain from our conversation today, from start to finish, is basically as an agent, I can put the basic data into our CRM system, send you the feed, and then based on all of the 26 billion points of data that you've got access to, you enrich our listings based on where the address is, so where they might not need to be, anything that's like maybe different nuances in different properties in terms of what it's got and where it is. And then based on that, you put it all together in a nice shiny package for AI to look at and go, right, this is where we'll grab the data from, and then you then point it towards the agent and their website, so you are basically connecting the AI and the agents
to you guys. Yeah, that's correct. That's exactly it. Yeah, I think the idea of building a new AI portal is a terrible idea, because, even the likes of Rightmove have spent £350 million just in the last 10 years or so marketing them and their name, right? So anyone who tries to create a dedicated AI portal, a new destination for consumers to go to, it's a bit of a hiding to nowhere, because you'd have to at least have.
There's no trust, is there? That's the problem.
There's no trust. Yeah, there's no knowledge. You'd have to have hundreds of millions just to get people just to realize, I should go there first, and then trust it, right? So
I think if you stop 10 people in the street, let's say, for example, there's loads of people starting new portals every day. You stop somebody in the street and say, where would you search for a house? They're not going to go, fish for homes. They're probably going to say Rightmove. But then if you stop the next person and said, name me an AI, like they probably go, ChatGPT. And then it won't be long before the behavior, because the behavior is obviously constantly evolving, where people will then go, Google is where they would start, and then Google to Rightmove, or Rightmove to Google, where they'll now go, well, I've got this chat AI assistant in my pocket now, and say, I'm looking to move house. This is what I'm looking for. Here's the context behind it. And then that's when it goes bam. And I think in the next 3 to 5 years, that's where the shift will be made.
Exactly. I mean, that's exactly as it is. And so, we're not going out to create HomeSearch as a new portal, as it were.
No.
What our vision is, okay, we've got to reduce the amount of friction for agents. Okay, fine. So let's connect directly to CRMs. Let's make it a one-click switch on.
You need the data, right, in order to make it happen.
Yeah, so the listings come in. I mean, to be honest, agents often get very kind of, possessive about the data, which for good reason, by the way, because they've had that taken advantage of. They've had to get the instruction, which is a hard slog, and then they've had to pay to get that out there to build a market that then generates billions for someone else. That's a strange.
Do you know what it is, though?
Journey.
I get it. I see the mistrust side, because you've had portals like Boomin that have tried to do that, and arguably, although I have huge respect for the Bruce brothers and what they did in the business they built, I think they were probably the wrong people to try and launch a portal in that time, because they kind of attacked the agents with the marketing campaigns, and then tried to go, we're on your side and sign up to this portal. But where I think the mindset for a lot of agents will be is that you're not monetizing the data as such, in terms of you're not trying to put out this new site and get people to subscribe to and hike the prices up. You're
Correct.
Connecting them. You're the connector, so you're between them, their CRM, and ChatGPT.
Exactly.
So I can't see how somebody would why wouldn't. The thing is, it's on Rightmove already anyway, that you're paying
exactly
£1,000, £2,000, £3,000 a month for, that isn't enriching your data. Yes, all right, they're adding maps and they might add a few broadband speeds and bits and pieces, but ultimately, this is where search is going. Whether people like it and refuse to accept it or not, it's where it's going. So why wouldn't you get ahead of the curve and bring your data over to something like Halo?
Yeah, we've had, as I said, in 10 weeks, we've had just under 6,000 branches join up, and some really big ones as well.
I'm not being paid to say this, by the way.
No, yeah.
I'm just connecting the dots from what you said, because I didn't understand it before I came on.
This is what happens, and actually, there's a lot of misunderstanding out there. Like, people often think that we're somehow optimizing estate agents' websites to be found by AI. That's something you guys can do yourselves. You don't have to pay anyone for that. As soon as you realize that, you just have to make sure your websites look a bit more human, make sure the information on your website is more human. Your website alone will be discovered by ChatGPT, but your live properties can't be, which is why Halo exists. So make sure all agents out there are investing a bit of time and thinking a bit like they did with SEO. They need to think about AEO, like answer engine optimization or generative engine optimization. They'll call it those things. Just look at your website and just imagine you're a consumer and you look at your website and say, does this feel trustworthy? Does this feel logical and human in the way it's been written on a website? And if it doesn't, make it that way, because the more you do that, the more these GPTs will find you. But as I said, they can't find your live listings, and that's our mission. So I think, yeah, there's so much more to it. I think it would take a bit longer, but in the simplest form, yeah, this is a way of getting all your listings seen by that. And because our goal is HomeSearch, our mission is not to charge agents a lot of money. I think in the future, we'll have ways in which we offer consumers a kind of £10 a month or £20 a month upgrade fee that gives them additional tools. A bit like all of you guys probably pay that 20 quid to ChatGPT to get yourself extra searches or voice search or something like that. We intend to really make our money in that way. So, actually we see agents as partners, not as kind of customers as such. And yeah, that's the reason why we've kept that monthly fee after the free period as cheap as possible.
That's the next question I was going to, because I feel like a lot of estate agents are skeptical because they'll say, well, what's in it for you guys? Like where does the rug pull come? Because people are always thinking, what's in it for them? And that's just estate agents for you in general. Like I think since Purple Bricks came
non-stop.
Yeah.
Non-stop
and the whole classic one more instruction line and different legacy prop tech advisors and all that. I suppose what would you say to anyone that's listening that's thinking, what is the gameplay here? Like where do we lose out?
It's always, the thing is that because of how much agents have been burnt in the past, there's always going to be this kind of lens of skepticism when they see this. I think that it was amazing how skeptical people were of the internet when they were, not really wanting to lose their first left-hand page or first right-hand page in the local magazine. And they held on to it forever, didn't they? And there were some that just moved straight to the internet and started making money. Unfortunately, what happened was it just homogenized everyone, and everyone then went into this battle to 1%, which was a terrible shame. Whereas AI gives you guys the ability to stand out in a way that you guys do what you do best, win those instructions, and then AI will make sure that they get really good buyers for them. I listened to another podcast you guys had where you said that you went to go and show someone this property and you took, was it your Sunday off or something for it? And you got there, she had a look around it, you'd given up time with your kids, and then she went, yeah, do you know what? It's actually a bit too far away. Yeah. And I thought, Jesus, had you done the research? Now, an AI wouldn't necessarily have served that up to her if she'd have said, like, I only want to be 10 minutes from this school. And it was 40 minutes. It just wouldn't have served up to her. So, look, are they skeptical? Yes, lots of agents are. And I think, the fact that nearly 6,000 have signed up, I hope helps you have a bit of confidence. And I think the reality is you can do it. There's no obligation. We're not locking people in. There's no join us free and then it's, locked in for the next 20 years. You literally can choose. You can join today, make this happen yourselves, get discovered directly and realize that we are in it to help the home searcher find the agent. Or you can stand back, I guess, and just sort of maybe wait for one of the portals to do it. And then I'd love to know how much they're going to charge. It's not going to be 80 quid. So I think, it's an interesting one. I have a very agent-centric mindset, and I have a very kind of how it could be done, should be done, will be done. And this is just the start, by the way. So you actually mentioned it in the very beginning, James. It's not just about the 1% of properties that are on the market. It's like, how can we also help connect them to you for all the other stuff? And we've been perfecting that for 10 years. And we've got loads of systems that look through, your CRM, work out everyone and make sure they make new connections. I mean, our system Recontact is just delivering off the chart results for off market stuff. I think one thing that might help agents lose that skepticism is if they hear what our goal is. Our goal, we call it a big, hairy, audacious goal. It's a bag, right? Big, hairy, audacious goal. It's kind of designed to be purposefully kind of ambitious. But our BHAG, our big, hairy, audacious goal, is to double the number of transactions that happen every year. So we want to add an additional million transactions to the market every year. And I know exactly how we're going to do it, by the way. And I know what you're thinking. You're thinking, oh my God, are you kidding me? Like, we can't even get the current number through. The conveyancing is slow and this and that.
Is it a new government?
Well, there's a problem there, all right? Oh God, let's not get started. We'll need another hour. I've got an actual webinar in 6 minutes. But the point is a client webinar. But the thing is that we actually realise that for every one person who finds their home and offers on it and buys it, there are 4 people, probably we estimate 4 people for every one, that just can't find it. They can't find the right home, and they've given up browsing and searching and spending hours and hours and hours every week on portals. We believe that if we can connect them to it much quicker, to the home they really care about, and actually deliver genuinely motivated home movers to you guys that will actually be genuinely interested in that home, because it literally ticks all their boxes, or most of their boxes. We think that you guys will sell them quicker. They'll then come to the market quicker. Will then also, and the fact that they can find their home quicker gives them more confidence to bring their property to the market as well. So it actually creates a kind of cycle, of an upward cycle. And by generating an extra 1 million transactions, that's depending on if you're a 1%er or a 2%er, you're talking between 3 and 5 billion extra estate agency fees. Just imagine that comes to the market. Then imagine you're then starting to save the £500 million, actually it's not exaggerated that, it's £410 million that you lot all spend on your current kind of, browse and search systems. So imagine that, an extra 3 to 5 billion in fees, a drop in hundreds of millions in kind of marketing costs, and you can actually start doing proper marketing where you're sending off-market homes, on-market homes, connecting with them, spending more time in local engagement, things like that. So yeah, I have a very kind of rosy future, rosy kind of, view of the future, which does put good agents at the centre of it all. So yeah, I think that's
perfect. Yeah. So how do people find up and sign up to Halo? Where do they go?
I think, halo.homesearch.co.uk. Yeah, thank you. I'm really grateful. I think halo.homesearch.co.uk, or just go to homesearch.co.uk, Google HomeSearch. God, you can even probably ask your AI, where do I sign up for Halo? And it will immediately tell you. And yeah, I think let's do this genuinely together. I mean that. I know you've heard that before, but I genuinely mean it. Let's create a better kind of future for agents, good agents, who want to network with more people to make more business happen.
Right, so, yeah. Really appreciate your time, Giles. I think that's a good place to call it. And we will see everyone next week.
Good luck with all your deals, and really enjoyed it. Thank you very much, and see you soon.
Cheers, Giles.